Okay, we're on to our last talk of the day. There will be some closing remarks afterwards, so stick around. Are we all excited? Yeah. We're still awake? Great. Ryan Cheley's here. He's going to give a talk on error culture. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Before I start, I want to say a big thanks to the organizers of PyCascades. It's been a great conference so far, so we all give them a hand. And some amazing talks already today. I'm hoping that I can fill the shoes that have been filled before me, because everyone's talks today were amazing. My name is Ryan Cheley. I use pronouns he, him, his. I am the Senior Regional Director of Business Informatics. Senior because I've got a lot of gray hair. Regional because I do a couple of different regions. That's really just a fancy way of saying Director of Engineering. I am a Djangonaut Space Navigator. I am also an admin of Django Commons and one of the maintainers of Django packages. You may or may not be picking up on a theme. I'm also a husband and a father. My daughter, who had the opportunity to come watch me talk today, opted out. She's hanging out with a friend of hers at Reed. I'm also a huge sports fan. I am a fan lifelong of the Los Angeles Dodgers, go Dodgers, and a hockey fan of the Coachella Valley Firebirds, who, for any of those that might live in Seattle, they are the AHL affiliate of the Seattle Kraken, so I'm a huge fan of the Kraken as well. You can find me in various different spots on the internet. There'll be a slide at the end with QR codes that will make it a little bit easier for you to find me. And today I'm going to talk about error culture, or what the heck are all these emails I get for anyway? And I'm going to give a couple of definitions first, because everyone loves definitions. I'm going to say what an alert is. To me, it's a warning of a danger, threat, or problem, typically with the intention of having it avoided or dealt with. And I've got a couple of assumptions. The first one is that your alerts or errors are done via email and that they are automated. And this is really what I hope is the start of a conversation with me after the talk, tomorrow during the conference, when you get back to work next week at your organizations and with your teams. I'm going to define what error culture is, why I think it happens, when it starts, who it happens to, how to tell if you're in it, if you're in it, how you can get out of it. It's not going to be as hard as you might think. Okay, great. What is error culture? How many of you have heard the term error culture before? All right, good, I'm in the right room. I define error culture as a culture that accepts error notifications and ignores them. All right. Encouraging a reactive firefighting culture instead of a proactive culture of problem solving. And you might ask, well, that's just the way it is, Ryan. Is that bad? Well, you might guess what my answer is. I'm going to say yes. But why is it bad? Well, it encourages a low signal to noise ratio on any of the emails you get regarding alerts or errors. And it also kind of encourages you to wait until it hits the fan, which maybe isn't so great. But why does it happen? Well, I think it happens because of a lack of understanding. A lack of understanding about what the error even is. Why is this error even important? And who does it impact, especially if it's not you? It can also happen, I think, because of error or alert fatigue. Have you ever had to click OK a bunch of times? Or had users that had to click OK a bunch of times? Or tell you how many clicks it takes to get to a spot? I work in healthcare, and the one thing you do not want to do is have a doctor click more than they have to, because they will let you know about it. But why does it happen? Again, hero culture. I think this might be one of the most insidious reasons. These next few slides come from one of my favorite webcomics, The Work Chronicles. This specific one is Prevention and Cure. And in the first image here, we find our hero discovering a problem. We see two people with fire extinguishers, both seeing small fires. In the next image, we watch our hero watch the fire get bigger not the one you thought, right? And bigger, fire's even larger, and bigger still, until it's so large our hero can finally tell everybody about the problem that they have discovered. And everyone comes and watches the hero put the fire out, and the hero is proclaimed as such because of their valiant efforts. Meanwhile, the person who saw the small problem, took care of it, they're not recognized for anything. How many of you have ever been the person on the left? How many of you have been the person on the right? Yeah. Which one feels better? Right? It's the one on the right. Which one is probably better for problem solving, making sure stuff just doesn't go sideways, maybe security implications? Probably the one on the left. But when does it start? It's not as though it has come down from the heavens or wherever and been given to us, right? It must start for some specific reason, right? Well, I think it can start for one of two types of classes of problems, or sources, internal sources and external sources. For internal sources, someone might decide that we, collectively, in this room, need to be notified when this happens again. Or someone says, it might be useful to know about this. I don't really know why, but we should know. Or maybe you just get opted in. You show up one day to work, one Monday morning, and your inbox is flooded with thousands of alerts. You have no idea what they're for. No one on your team knows why they're there. Your boss doesn't know why you're there. So y'all just delete them. It can also happen because of external reasons. You might have a consultant that indicates that it's best practice to have this particular alert enabled. This is similar to the we need to be notified when this happens again. Or you might get software that just comes with alerts enabled by default, but there's no context for them on what you're supposed to do, who they impact, and so again, you get some sort of software that's provided externally, alerts start showing up, and you have no idea why. Who does it happen to? You may be surprised, but you may not be. We're at a tech conference, so I'm obviously going to probably talk about people in tech. Developers, many of you in this room are developers. Help desk folks, you may be in this room as well, you may work with them. System administrators, network administrators, directors of engineering, or chief technical officers. But it happens to office workers as well, administrative assistants, and office managers, customer service reps, or account managers. It happens in lots of sectors and industries. As I mentioned, I work in healthcare. I see this all the time. I have friends in education, and as I was telling them about my presentation, they're like, oh yeah, all the time, all the time. I live in the Cheley Valley that has a lot of agriculture. I know a lot of people who work in agriculture, the same thing. Some of us may have come into Portland from out of town and we're staying at hotels. I used to work in hospitality. It happened to me there too. I've been dealing with this my entire adult life, and I'm tired of it. So I'm going to help you figure out how to get out of it. So really, this can happen to anyone, right? This isn't just a tech problem, but I'm going to talk about it from a tech perspective. So maybe I've given you some examples here that you have really caught on to, and you're like, yeah, that is me. But how can you know that you're in it for sure? By asking yourself a few questions. Does this look familiar to anybody? This is a screenshot of my deleted items. We use Microsoft Office at my work. We're a Microsoft shop. That has hundreds, you can only see about 30 of them, hundreds of unread or some read alerts from a no reply style email address. So the first question, Is your deleted items field with lots of emails from a no-reply style email address that you didn't even bother to read? You just deleted them. But we're all smart folks in this room. And if you use Microsoft Outlook, you might know about the rules wizard, and you might go ahead and set up a rule that just goes ahead and deletes the email so you don't even have to worry about it, right? Again, an actual screenshot of a rule that I had set up. So question number 2. Do you have a rule that just deletes emails for these types of alerts? Well, maybe you get alerts and there's no context and they're not actionable. And this particular one, which is, again, an actual email that I received, I am told that there is an issue with a client library and I should contact the vendor. But I'll be darned if I know which client library. I'm told that it's coming from an IP address. All right, great. Which IP address? So question number 3. Do you get alerts and have no idea what to do with them, why you got them, who they impact? Going back to prevention and cure, do you have similar experiences to what we saw there? Are people rewarded for waiting until problems they knew about are big enough to alert everyone about, and then they resolve them? Maybe you were that person. I've been guilty of that myself. If you answered yes to one or maybe all of these questions, then I would argue that you are in an error culture. Now, hopefully, I've convinced you that this is bad, and if I ended my talk here, it would be very unsatisfying, because I would have told you about a problem that you are in, that you did not know you were in, and I would have no solution for you. But good news is, I do. So how can you fix it? The good news is that it doesn't really matter if you're an individual contributor all the way on up to the chief technical officer in the ladder at your organization. You can have agency over this problem. But where do you start? How many people are familiar with the concept of Chesterton's fence? All right, cool. A word of caution: change should not be made until the reasoning behind the current state of affairs is understood. What we see here is a comic talking about Chesterton's fence, which says, "Don't take down a fence unless you know why it was put up." We see two people on one side of a fence, with one of them proclaiming, "What a dumb fence. What were they thinking?" Now, slightly in the distance on the other side of the fence is a rhinoceros. They are mean animals. The only thing protecting these two people from that rhinoceros is this fence. Don't take down a fence unless you know why it was put there. And how can you understand what can get you to a point to understand how and why a fence was put there? How do you gather information to understand? It's pretty straightforward. You ask some questions. What kinds of questions? Well, with alerts, you can ask the question, is this alert important? It's really simple. If the answer is no, then you delete the alert. But not just the alert, the mechanism that generates the alert. Because you don't want anyone to have to delete this email ever again. You might have a new team member that's starting tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year, and they may not know that this is not an important alert. Delete the mechanism that generates the alert so that no one has to set up a rule. No one has to wonder if it's important. If you ask the question, is this alert important, and the answer is yes, then this is great because you have an important alert. But the next question to ask is the alert actionable? What does an actionable alert look like? I'm a child of the 80s, and I love Schoolhouse Rocks. This is superhero verb from Schoolhouse Rocks. For those of you that don't know what Schoolhouse Rocks is, totally should look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. But Schoolhouse Rocks was a small interstitial cartoon on Saturday mornings in between other cartoons that taught people my age what to do. And it was what a verb was, and lots of other great things that I think are awesome lessons to learn. Okay, so I'm going to go through some examples here, starting with what I would consider to be a very bad example, working up to what I would consider to be a best case example. In this bad example, we have the subject, and the subject's going to be the same throughout all of them. The only thing that's going to change is the message here. But the subject says, super important alert about the server, exclamation point. That's how you know it's important, right? There's an exclamation point. It says, the server is unresponsive. If you are lucky, or maybe unlucky enough to work in an environment that has exactly one server, then you know which server it is because you got the one, right? But if you have more than one server, you could rightly ask, which server? So we update the message. The server DOWeb005 is unresponsive. So this is great. I know which server it is, but what am I supposed to do about it? It's important. I know where to go, but what am I supposed to do? We're going to add a verb to it to say, to resolve this, do X. The verb, do X. What might that verb be? Reboot the server. That might be a good one in this particular case. So this is great. We have an actionable alert. We know what to do. We know that it's important. But do we know why the alert exists? If we don't know why, we should probably find out and then write it down so that no one has to ever ask that question again. Why is it important? So going back to the actionable alert that we saw before, reboot the server, we could add, see this link for details on the alert. And that link could go to our knowledge management system. So here's an example of a link that I might have clicked on, and it tells me about DOWeb005, that is a test server that's going to be retired for Project AB, or it's used for Project ABC, and it's set to be retired on January 1st, 2025. Well, today's February 8th, 2025, so maybe this alert isn't important anymore. Maybe the reason that the server is unresponsive is because it's going through a decommissioning process because the project is over. But going back to Chesterton's fence, I'm going to want to verify that. However, where I work, if I clicked on that link and I got something like this that said it was a mission-critical server for claims adjudication, I would drop everything I was doing and go get it fixed right now, because this is very important for me and for where I work. Now, what I showed was an alert context that had a link in it, but maybe for you and your teams, embedded information is better, putting the context inside of the alert instead of linking off to it. There's no one-size-fits-all here. Do what's right for you and your teams. Great. So I have an important alert. I know what to do. But who should be notified? Going back to the the best case example that was talking about a mission-critical server for claims adjudication, are these the right people to be notified? The claims team? A business analyst? A developer? Now, it could be important for the claims team or the business analysts to know that there was a problem with the claims adjudication server, but sending them an alert to do something about it, it's not going to do anything. They can't reboot the server. Also, where I work, a developer isn't going to be able to reboot a production server, so they're not going to be the right person either. The right people are probably a server administrator, because they can actually do the action of rebooting the server. I'm a visual person. I like to see things visually. I love Venn diagrams. So I'm going to put all of this together into a Venn diagram for you. Alerts should be actionable, they should be important, and they should be sent to the right people. If they're just actionable and important, but not sent to the right people, you're just going to frustrate people. They'll know that they'll know what needs to be done, they'll know that it's important, but they're not the people to do the thing. Don't tell the claims team to reboot the server because they can't. If it's actionable and sent to the right people, but not important, you just wasted a whole bunch of people's time. Well, if that alert was a time waste, maybe every alert I get is a time waste, and so I won't look at any of them. If it's important and sent to the right people, but not actionable, it can lead to confusion. Hey, Velda, do you remember what we did the last time we got this alert? Because I don't. In the best case, your alerts are actionable, they're important, and they're sent to the right people. Error culture can be pervasive is pervasive. But everyone in this room can make it better by asking questions and making sure that your alerts are actionable, that they're important, and that they're sent to the right people. Actionable with a verb. Their importance is documented, and they go to the people that can do the thing that needs to be done. That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. This is how you can find me.